rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, it seems like Rumble is not working video-wise. I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you that I did talk to them. They said they've escalated it. They're waiting for their developers, I guess, to come back with something, and that's the last that I've heard of it. So hopefully, everything else is working. I see Facebook is online, and I believe YouTube is online. Yeah, it looks like it. Facebook's online, YouTube's online, and it looks like potentially, looks like X is online as well. So you can go and run off to one of those if you want to watch the video. Otherwise, you can just listen to me and see the logo if you're on Rumble. All right. So tonight, we have some news about the redistricting. There's a couple of other things that have popped up as well with regards to the Democrats, and they are in some serious challenges for the 2026 and 2028 elections, possibly even all the way to 2030. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But first, let's go ahead and get things kicked off with Squishy. Squishy is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your... wait, what is going on? Oh, yeah, I need to turn off the audio on. There we go. Sorry, where was I? Oh, yes. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Squishy as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you, Squish, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. If you use your phone to record, don't forget to share. That's use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. That's share. And you can send it off to me by doing the same thing. Fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. I have 24 of these items, so I only need 2 more to reach my goal of 26 in 2026. So please do so at your earliest convenience and make sure that you send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. All right, tonight's headline sponsor is none other than theflagshirt.com. That's right, theflagshirt.com, where you can go and get patriotic styles available in men's, women's, made in the USA, kids, Don't forget to check out their America's 250 collection. That's for the anniversary, the America 250th anniversary coming up this year. And right now they're running an Armed Forces Day sale where you can get up to 50% off select items. The only way you'll know how to find that out is to go to theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt, all one word, .com. And you can go and check out all of their styles. Also, too, they have that free shipping. So if you order $75 or more of their product, they will give you free shipping and send it directly to your door free. No cost to you. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. Alrighty, folks. Well, we've had a lot of things occur, and in fact, just announced the Democrats have had a bit of a problem. SCOTUS has declined. You remember I talked about this the other night, not last night, but the other night, how the Democrats, the Virginia Democrats, were going to go ahead and send a request, or did, I should say, send a request to SCOTUS, that's the Supreme Court of the United States, asking them to grant them a reprieve. And, well, the Supreme Court of the United States said, no. In fact, they did it in a one-liner. And unfortunately, it was announced by CBS News when I heard about it, and CBS News didn't bother to even say what the one-liner is. Probably just one sentence. No. That's the way it should be. You know, I forgot. I started getting into the whole thing about the Tonight Show, and I forgot to do this. 3 Chevy. Got a shout out, hat tip to him. 3 Chevy did a thing. Yes, he did a thing for me, and well, here's what he did. Take a look at this. There it is. There is me in a wonderful sheriff's outfit. Yeah, you know what? I didn't even look at the star. What does the star say? Marshal. Okay. So it looks like I'm a U.S. Marshal in Western gear. Yeah. I gotta love my creative Whiskey Warrior P1s. So, yeah. So there we go. Just fantastic for all of this. I do appreciate that, 3 Chevy. I've already been in contact with him. I want to try and get the watermark taken off. So we'll get to that. And hopefully I'll have that watermark removed, and then I can show you guys all of it without the watermark. So anyway, let me go and get rid of that. All right. Well, Hakeem Jeffries, let's talk about him, because Timu Obama really was not happy at all today. And he had a press conference, which why this guy even gets any kind of attention is beyond me. But he had a press conference, and, well, let's just say Timu Obama, he's not a very happy camper. He's not a very happy camper. And, well, it even got worse, though, and I'll explain that to you in just a minute. But it even got worse because a member of the press decided to push him a little bit. But for that, let's go ahead and let me just play this for you.
And so Susan Del Bene said earlier today, we're going to win back control of the House. And the big fight will be what happens in between 2026 and 2028. Because we know this unprecedented assault on black political representation, the likes of which we have not seen since the Jim Crow era, the ghosts of the Confederacy has afflicted the United States Supreme Court majority and is invading and haunting the nation right now, and we take that seriously. and we know it's going to continue, which is why Democrats are committed to launching a decisive and overwhelming response in advance of the 2028 election to ensure that it's the American people who are the ones who get to decide who's in the majority in the House, who's in the majority in the Senate, and ultimately in 2028, who gets elected as the next president of the United States of America.
Well, thank you for that, Timu Obama. I appreciate your candor there. And you're right. It is all up to the American people as to who is going to get to elect their representatives. And now with all of this, with the race-based redistricting done by the Democrats in several locations being reversed by the Supreme Court of the United States, that means that they actually get who they want, not who you think that they want based off of somebody's skin color. Anyway, there was a person in the crowd, a gentleman in the crowd, a reporter in the crowd who, well, let's just say he sort of challenged a little bit of Timu Obama. And let's go ahead and listen to that one right here, right now.
You ultimately lost this, and you take personal.
Who lost?
You lost in the.
Who lost? Did the voters lose?
Democrats did.
Did the voters lose?
You take personal responsibility for investing so much time and resources, tens of millions of dollars, in ultimately fruitless effort.
We did the right thing, and this effort is not over.
No, they did not do the right thing. They did the stupid thing. Because as that reporter pointed out, they spent tens of millions of dollars in a failed attempt to try and take what was a relatively even gerrymandered state in Virginia and tried to turn it into a Democrat-leaning state, which if you actually looked at the way the state voted, county by county, the 6-5 split was much more fair than the other 10-1 that they were attempting to do. Well, you'll recall that Timu Obama mentioned Jim Crow. Well, I got to tell you, that didn't sit very well with the guy that I'm about to play next. He is a fantastic representative. I love this guy. He comes out of Texas, and boy, I got to tell you, he is fantastic. If I could have him for my representative, I would just love it. And again, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with skin color. This has everything to do with essentially what is merit-based. You know, that thing that was the foundational principle for our country was that you have the same opportunity, you just have to work hard to get what you want. Yeah, well, this guy has actually done it. And I got to tell you, man, if you have never seen or heard of Wesley Hunt, this is a guy you really, really got to pay attention to. Take a listen to him.
I'm seeing a lot of talk from my colleagues on the left, too, as we shift toward this reinvigorated talk about Jim Crow and the past of this country. And as someone who is a direct descendant of a slave, as someone whose great-great-grandfather was born on a plantation, I can assure you slavery is over. Jim Crow is dead. When I go anywhere, I don't see any white-only signs. I don't, I promise you. I am a black man that represents a white majority district in Texas. The great-great-grandson of a man born on a plantation stands before you today as a proud conservative Republican from Texas. as a believer and follower in Christ, and as a believer in what this country can be if we allow equality for not just Muslim Americans, not just Buddhist Americans, but also Christian Americans like yourself. God bless you, young man. You give me a lot of hope for the future of this country. Thank you for having the courage. I yield back the remainder of my time.
I'm telling you, man, Wesley Hunt, we need more people like Wesley Hunt and Mike Lee and some of the others that are in Congress. This guy, he knows his stuff. He is extremely intelligent, obviously articulate, and very passionate. And those three as a combination, no Democrat can stand up to. He is just absolutely fantastic. Well, the Democrats have a bit of a problem. And you kind of wonder, you know, what the Democrats actually have as their problem. Well, we know what the Democrats have as a problem. They're all stupid, complete, utter stupid morons. But that being said, this whole idea of gerrymandering, see, now that they've lost Virginia again, and they're potentially going to lose seats in places like Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, I'm trying to think, South Carolina, and a few other places, they are questioning what the next tactic is, where they're going to go. Well, here's one thing that they were going to do. There's some thought process and talk about gerrymandering some other states to get them to the point like they have in the Northeast, meaning that there is no Republican seats. And they've talked about doing this as an answer to the wins that the Republicans have been getting so far with all of this. Well, here's the problem. There's some people in the Democrat Party who are not really too keen on that idea. Now, there was a political poll here in Red State. Let me go ahead and show you this. So here in Red State, you can see there's a political poll where a plurality of Dems say that the party should counter the Republican gerrymandering, even if it means reducing the number of majority-minority districts. Now, if race really had no issue for the Democrats, if race really did not count, and the Democrats actually believed that race did not count, then realistically, this shouldn't be, this kind of would be a no-brainer, right? You would just go and, gerrymander districts and maybe just say, well, we're going to gerrymander some of these districts and we're going to get rid of the whole idea of using race and just go for, well, can we get the voters? Because remember, the SCOTUS case had to deal with using race as a primary reason for gerrymandering a district. Okay? They didn't say anything about how those people vote. And so there's a lot of question as to whether or not the Democrats are going to change their strategy in order to try and redistrict. Well, there's a bit of a problem. There's this group called the Congressional Black Caucus and a bunch of other black caucuses and primarily black groups that are, well, not so happy about this. And, well, they actually, and the Illinois Senate Black Caucus has a warning, here you can see it on the screen here, has a warning for the Democrats in Hakeem Timu Jeffries, basically saying that it's not going to back any kind of map that dilutes the black vote in any historically black district in Illinois. That means that the Democrats might be heading toward a civil war of their own. They keep claiming the Republicans are in a civil war. the Democrats might be heading toward a civil war of their own because of redistricting now. Because if you can't use race as redistricting, then you go in and you try and redistrict a state like Illinois, well, you're going to get some pushback, apparently. Because, yeah. By the way, Capital News Illinois noted that at the time that currently 3 of the state's congressional districts are at least 40% African American, according to U.S. Census data, and Illinois has 4 black representatives in Congress. But a more aggressive gerrymander would likely require these majority-minority, overwhelmingly Democrat districts to absorb additional rural majority white parts of the state that overwhelmingly vote Republican. Now, keep in mind, the Illinois idea to try and gerrymander Illinois again was, well, it was scrapped, presumably to avoid an outright revolt from the Illinois Senate Black Caucus. So, yeah. These people, I'm just telling you, these people are, well, yeah, going out. Yeah. All right. Anyway. So, another issue that is going to come up, of course, is the issue of money. And the Democrats have a bit of a problem there. See, the American people apparently are no longer necessarily interested in the messages that the Democrats have been saying, because the Democrats basically have one message, and that literally is hate on Trump. That's it. That's all they have. They have nothing else to work off of or to go with. And so, yeah. Anyway, according to this article in Red State, as we head toward the midterms, it's normally the party that's out of power. In this case, the Democrats would have the edge, but redistricting is going to make things a little bit harder for them to reach. On top of that, they still have the problem that we've been reporting on for quite some time that, well, the Democrats still have this issue where voters don't think very highly of them at this point in time. CNN senior data analyst has explained that. I played that clip a couple of episodes ago about it. So in addition to the redistricting, which would likely deliver more seats to Republicans, the generic congressional ballot numbers have gotten worse since March, and they're now within the margin of error, which Harry Enton has also explained to us. And I played that clip a couple of nights ago. Well, now the Associated Press just dropped a piece about the internal conflict among the Democrats, where it's and the piece is titled "Inside the Furor Plaguing the Democrat National Committee Leader Ken Martin." Well, they're having a money problem. Major donors aren't giving. They're not giving money. Now, you recall, I mean, the one of the big things that the Democrat Party, through Act Blue, and we discussed that on this program, through Act Blue was able to do is they would take major donors and, utilizing Act Blue, be able to break up a major donor's donation into multiple smaller donations. And Act Blue has been accused of taking people's information and using it in order to cover up those major donors' money flow into the Democrat Party. Now, it's one of the reasons why Act Blue is so successful at fundraising. Reportedly, allegedly successful at fundraising. Well, apparently, these major donors aren't giving anymore. And in fact, liberal influencers, people on, the mainstream media, doing podcasts, things of that nature, they're all publicly questioning whether or not Ken Martin is going to be able to keep things going. they apparently, they're also questioning whether or not why Ken Martin doesn't want to release an internal report on the party's failures that he's been holding on to. Democrat operatives have begun informal discussions about recruiting a new chair, even as most believe that Martin's job isn't in serious jeopardy ahead of the midterm elections. So, yeah. One of those is Amanda Littman, who leads the Democrat allied organization Run for Something. She said that she's been approached by senior strategists in recent days, gauging her interest in actually replacing Martin. Now, she declined, but has said that many in the party have lost faith in the DNC leader. Now, there's another problem. The national party, the national DNC party, reported a $22.1 million cash on hand, but they have $18.4 million in debt at the end of March of this year, according to its most recent federal filing. Now, the Republican National Committee, on the other hand, reported $116.8 million in the bank with literally zero in debt. So, quick math here. You're looking at roughly $3.7 million. That's all you have free and clear for the Democrat Party versus $116.8 million for the Republicans. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Money is definitely a big factor when it comes to these races throughout the United States. Being able to spend as much money as you can on things like ads and, things like sponsoring podcasts and, podcast appearances and all of these wonderful things, because the American people in general have, and I mean in general, not you, not the Whiskey Warrior P1s, because I have the most intelligent listening audience in the ethosphere. But the vast majority of Americans have essentially the attention span of a gnat. And so if you can go, like Dan Bongino talks about, snapshots and sound bites, if you can create those snapshots and sound bites and do it and send them out on, say, TikTok and some of these other places, you're more likely going to gain a heck of a lot more exposure than the old way of doing things, like taking out television ads on regular terrestrial television and things of that nature. So, yeah. Now, apparently, Ken Martin says he's been trying to raise more money, but it kind of sounds like he's trying to desperately bail out the boat. He's been aggressively, reportedly courting big dollar donors despite their demonstrated reluctance to give to the committee. He has acknowledged pressure related to the autopsy in some of the conversations and indicated changes could be coming soon. By that autopsy, they mean that report in terms of the Democrat failings. According to two people with direct knowledge of the discussions but not authorized to share them. Again, a couple anonymous sources. So, yeah. It's going to be a tough battle potentially for these Democrats. Just saying. All right. Well, as I pointed out at the top of the show, the Supreme Court has rejected the Virginia Democrats' bid to review or revive the new congressional map. There's also a court case in Tennessee that was over the new congressional map, and the federal judge there has also shut down their action over there. For the new congressional map, because the federal judge has declined to immediately block Tennessee's new drawn congressional map. So, yeah. And the Democrats, of course, are melting down every time that one of these judges rules for the Republicans. So, anyway, Chief Chief U.S. District Judge William Campbell Jr. denied the plaintiff's request for a TRO, temporary restraining order, and canceled a hearing that had been scheduled for May 20th, according to a court order that was filed on Tuesday. The ruling stems from the lawsuit filed last week by the Tennessee Democratic Party and several plaintiffs challenging the state's newly redrawn congressional districts approved during a special legislative session. The lawsuit argues that the map unlawfully dismantles a majority black district. Again, you can't use race anymore, and creates election confusion ahead of the August primary. So, yeah, that judge said, nope, not going to stop it. It's going in place. We're not going to let that happen. Well, the guy, the white guy, the old white guy who was representing that Tennessee district that has been redistricted and is no longer there, well, he's decided to end his re-election bid. Now, this guy's been in that seat for 20 years. 20 years. So he's decided to stop. He's like, I'm done. I'm done. I mean, this is what the guy looks like. Seriously, folks, if you think a majority black district goes and has this guy as their representative, do you honestly believe in any way, shape, or form that race really matters anymore? I mean, this guy's been in that seat for 20 years. He has represented that majority black district. He, in fact, went and tried to become part of the Congressional Black Caucus because of the fact that he was representing a majority black district, mainly Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah. Well, the Congressional Black Caucus laughed at him and said, no. So, yeah. All right, let's take a quick look here at, okay. So, let's go ahead and take a quick break. Let me talk to you about, let's talk to you about this new fangled thing out there known as the Rumble wallet. That's right. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you can actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why you should use Rumble Wallet. It takes all of that complexity and makes it very simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators, like me, directly. So, do this now. Scan the QR code. I forgot which side. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description of the video on Rumble and download the Rumble wallet. You can also go to wallet.rumble.com. That's wallet, WALLET.rumble.com to get more information about this new technology breakthrough for your money. From there, from wallet.rumble.com, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you are in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. So go to wallet.rumble.com for details. That's wallet.rumble.com for details about this opportunity, this alternative to just regular cash. Once again, go to wallet.rumble.com or download the Rumble Wallet from the App Store or the Google Play Store. Either one. All right. So, let's see. Well, you know how Tennessee did their thing, and, well, McMaster, that's right, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster announced yesterday that he is convening the state legislature in Columbia, South Carolina, starting today for a special session to address the state budget and congressional districts. He said, quote, "I have issued an executive order calling the General Assembly back for an extra legislative session to address the state budget and congressional districts beginning Friday, May 15th at 11 a.m. The move comes amid all of these, intra-party Republican tensions over the Trump-backed effort to redraw the state's congressional map, a push that could threaten the tenure of none other than a long-time. What is it about these people? They've been in Congress for 20, 30, 40 years, and now they're all of a sudden, they've done nothing for these people. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to vote them out when they don't do what they say they're going to do. But apparently, the voters in these districts don't really care. As I've pointed out multiple times on this show, the majority of people do just name recognition. It's almost like you're voting for American Idol. It's whoever you recognize or, like because they can tap dance really well. And for Democrats, yeah, that's real true. Anyway, this push could threaten the tenure of longtime Democrat Representative James Clyburn. So, and by the way, Clyburn was the one who was credited with reviving former President Joe Biden's 2020 campaign. Sorry, had to get a drink. Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey from Edgefield, he's a Republican, and 4 other senators early this week joined the Democrat to defeat a proposal that would have allowed the chamber to vote on redistricting after the South Carolina legislative session closed on Thursday. The roadblock, which happened, came hours after Trump warned that he is watching closely the redistricting effort. Now, let's be honest here. This is just one district. It's only one vote. So, yeah. Anyway, they're not the only ones. Georgia Republicans have a chance to fix their congressional map. Now, granted, Georgia, sorry, not Brad Raffensperger. Yeah, I think it is Brad Raffensperger. But anyway, Governor Brian Kemp has already announced that he is going to call a special session, but this is going to be after the primary runoffs. And so the legislature is supposed to convene on June 17th to redraw the state maps for the 2028 election cycle. So Georgia isn't going to help us in the midterms in 2026, but they may help us in 2028, depending upon how that goes through. So, yeah. The General Assembly, by the way, passed the law the voting system. There's a voting system controversy. It's a looming crisis over Georgia's voting system. The first being that the first part of it is the fact that the General Assembly passed a law in 2024 banning the use of QR codes on ballots after July of 2026. The House passed a bill that addressed this issue by punting it to 2028 on outlawing the current system and procuring a new one, but the Senate didn't touch it. And with that, the current system would be illegal for November's election. So the General Assembly needs to meet and get on the ball with that fast. Well, Kemp added the redistricting as the secondary item on it. Now, he originally declined to change the congressional maps for 2026 since those races are already underway. So here is an image of Georgia's current congressional districts. So this is the current districts. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Democrat districts. And if they were to redistrict, let's see if there's another one here. Yeah, they don't show how many of those would disappear. This is the current district. So if Georgia goes and redistricts without using race as a possibility, you could see a potential pickup of, anywhere from, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably anything from, 1 to 6 in terms of what's being picked up. So, depending upon how they redraw things in Georgia. So there you go. Anyway, well, not to be outdone, here's a state-by-state list where the Republicans see a possible 10-seat pickup. Well, here's how it breaks down. So Utah, it looks like it's going to be a Democrat +1, okay? California is looking to pick up 4 or 5. Texas, for the Republicans, 3 to 4. Florida, for the Republicans, 3 to 4. Missouri, if they can get their congressional map taken care of, you could pick up 1 seat there. North Carolina, they have a newly drawn map that places Democrat Representative Don Davis into a much more Republican district. Center for Politics currently rates that race as leaning Republican, giving the GOP a projected gain of 1 there. Ohio may not gain anything. However, it could possibly gain 1 seat as well for Republicans. Tennessee, obviously, 1. Alabama has a potential, as they are expected to pursue another round of redistricting that could add 1 more Republican seat. It's remaining pending, of course, but analysts are saying that you could pick up 1. Louisiana also, because they're actually redistricting things, redistricting stuff based on the Louisiana versus Calais case, which started all of this. So that could be a Republican 1. South Carolina could be a Republican 1 as well. Maryland, which is a possible Democrat countermove to all of these Republican wins, may get rid of a seat. The lone Republican-held congressional district to cut it down and add just 1 for them. So the redistricting wars continue for the foreseeable future. Well, as much as everybody really would like to see this person disappear, no, she's back. That's right. Good old Kamala Harris came back, and well, let's just put it this way. She was speaking on a Zoom call with a group known as Win with Black Women. And according to the video that has been floating around, she actually is the latest, I'll say, person from the Democrat Party to jump on the bandwagon of advocating for expanding the Supreme Court. Now, if you honestly don't think that the Democrats, if they get back into power, are not going to do this, man, I got a Brooklyn Bridge that lives in Arizona that I can sell you. Because I promise you, this is an almost guarantee. Between this, potentially packing the court, adding Puerto Rico and DC as states, I mean, they're pretty much, they're telegraphing exactly what they're going to do. Then that's why we need to make sure we, as in the American people, and especially conservatives, we need to make sure that we get out and vote, and make sure that we get this taken care of. She also suggested her party should hold a, quote, no bad idea brainstorm. So, which included things like granting statehood to Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., and the packing the court. So she also, by the way, in some polls for 2028 is the Democratic frontrunner again, even better than or more likely to win over Gavin Gruesome Newsom. Anyway, all right, let me hop over and see if there's anything pressing in the chat. And no, I don't see anything in the chat here. Most everybody's in Facebook land, I think. Oh, maybe not. Let me head on over to. Let me see. Yep, there we go. Yeah. All right. So, anyway. All right. Well, let's take a quick shift into international politics. As we all know, Trump visited China, and there are some 6 key takeaways from Trump's China trip. So, the first one is that obviously Taiwan is remaining as a flashpoint for the U.S.-China relations. Xi raised the issue of Taiwan with Trump right out of the gate. However, Trump, of course, being who he is, has thus far refused to budge or change the longstanding policy towards the self-governing democratic island that China keeps claiming as its own. President Xi stressed to President Trump that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning wrote on X on Wednesday, quote, if it's handled properly, the bilateral relationship will enjoy overall stability. Otherwise, the two countries will have clashes and even conflicts, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy. So Taiwan is obviously still on the table for those guys. We also have Xi shows a willingness to help Trump with the Iran conflict. Now, for those of you that don't know, Iran is dealing with Pakistan. Pakistan is a de facto, call it face, for China in the Middle East. And so, yeah. The two heads of state appeared to find common ground on Iran, with Xi even offering to assist Trump in the region, according to Trump. He wants to see a deal made, Trump says, meaning Xi, and if he can be at any help at all, he'd like to be of help. So anyway, obviously there's a big driver there, which is all the oil that they get through the Strait of Hormuz for it. There also was, and by the way, that's an estimated 45 to 50% of the crude oil imports to China flow through the Strait of Hormuz, which has effectively been shut down due to the conflict. Trump teased some trade deals and investments. However, the summit itself was light on specifics on those. Okay, talking money. He did bring business leaders over there with him, which was supposed to kind of help. Xi is open to opening up China for U.S. business. So Xi reportedly told the CEOs that were traveling with the president that China's door will only open wider, and the expressed belief that U.S. companies will enjoy even broader prospects in China, according to a state-run newspaper. Well, again, that's questionable. And of course, as always, pomp and circumstance and pageantry reign supreme in China. So the Chinese pulled out all the stops to try and impress Trump, starting with a red carpet welcome at the Beijing airport, complete with a military band, honor guard, 300 singing kids waving American and Chinese flags. The red carpet was rolled out again at the Great Hall of the People, where the much anticipated first handshake between Trump and Xi took place, followed by the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner and more excited school children. So yeah, anyway. Trump and Xi, of course, built on their personal connections that they've already had. And Trump extended an invitation to Xi to visit Washington in September and pledged to be reciprocal, like reciprocal trade, if the Chinese leader takes him up on the offer. Well, still, the U.S.-China relationship could still go south for the whole situation here. So we're just going to have to see how things go, but I would say it was potentially a success for the China visit. Well, back on the home front, and really quickly as we start to get into the closing, there was a report that Vice President J.D. Vance put out on the 13th. He estimated that U.S. taxpayers are funding hundreds of billions of dollars annually for illegal immigrants. He says that this taxpayer money goes to fraudulent benefits obtained by illegal immigrants and funding criminal processing for those who are arrested for those crimes. He said in response to a question from the Epoch Times, which is where I'm getting this from, saying, "I've seen efforts to try and quantify this. I think the answer is hundreds of billions of dollars a year, whether it's 300 or 600. It's a lot of money between Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, prison, fees, everything that goes into the criminal migrant problem in the United States of America. It's a lot of money." He indicated that pinpointing a figure is challenging because of the many variables at play and the efforts by individuals and some organizations to hide others' immigration status. Imprisoning illegal immigrants who commit crimes costs between $60,000 and $120,000 annually per inmate, according to the VP. Some states, including California and New York, allow illegal immigrants to collect health care benefits, which is part of the reason why there's so much fraud there. Vance commented that they actually allow illegal aliens to benefit from American people's health care programs, which is just a disgrace and just a travesty. I mean, if you go into an emergency room, you should know that you're waiting in line with other American citizens, not with people who've been placed in the front of the line by a fraudulent Medicaid program in California. But that's what's happening. So, yeah, he's basically saying that they found all kinds of stuff. Vance did emphasize that U.S. tax dollars must first take care of U.S. citizens before they are spent on other people. He's like, we're a generous country. We're a generous people. I love that about this country. But part of that generosity is that it extends to our fellow Americans. We cannot give Medicare, Medicaid benefits to everybody all over the world it's going to bankrupt these programs. So, yeah, there you go. All right. Well, remember how I was telling you about a couple of days ago about the Senate and how there was that proposal by John Kennedy to make it so that if the Senate votes on a shutdown or has another shutdown, that the senators are supposed to go without pay? Well, guess what? It actually passed. That's right. The Senate actually passed the resolution that Kennedy proposed. They did it unanimously, by the way, and this was on Wednesday. They approved it, and it will suspend senators' pay during a government shutdown of, basically of the country the next time that the Democrats decide to use the American people as their chip, as their chip. So anyway, all right. Let's see. How many minutes do I have? I got 5 minutes left. So there is a big SCOTUS case that also came down. And this one is going to hurt logistics companies, American logistics companies. So SCOTUS ruled that logistics companies are liable for hiring unsafe trucking companies. Now, this all stems from a case where a guy who got a trucker who got his truck sideswiped while he was on the side of the road, assumedly repairing it. And he ended up having his leg amputated because of the accident. Well, the accident was, I want to say performed by, but anyway, the guy that hit him was a low rent hire through what was essentially a, what do they call these people? A broker. So the brokers, basically what brokers do is they go and they connect up drivers or other trucking companies with loads that are going out that need to be transported. And the brokers aren't necessarily all that, shall we say, all that careful about who it is that they send and match these two people, match the two people up there. Brokers basically act like matchmakers. And so what ends up happening is these matchmakers will go and they'll hook up, and they'll hook up the companies and the loads, and they don't even care what the safety records of the company are. So because they don't care about the safety records, you can get some low rent, what do you call it? Somebody who, like some of these drivers who are illegally on our roads because they don't understand English, that kind of thing. A broker can hire one of those, and then of course they take a little bit of a fee off the top or whatever it is. And so the lower that you make the load, the trip, the better off the broker can make out. Well, in this particular case, the person who got his leg amputated and was seriously injured in this accident, he sued, and he was trying to make it so that his medical expenses and everything can be taken care of by not only the company that hit him, but also the broker that set everything up. So this is something that is obviously going to impact a lot of brokers. There's going to have to be some changes, and likely there are going to be some changes. So very likely you will see things like carrier fees and things of that nature that are going to start climbing, and it's going to become a little bit more expensive. to go and ship stuff across the United States, all because of this particular thing. But the good news is that even though the costs will go up, the actual safety records and everything else, the people who are actually doing the shipping and the transport, their safety records are going to be much more scrutinized. And so theoretically, with this decision, you'll have safer roads for all of this. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thumb sideways, or at an angle for 3 Chevy, as across all my platforms, X, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night. Well, yes, tomorrow night, 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. And by the way, I should be back in my studio for tomorrow night's show. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.